How do you go from migrating an SAP PIPO message mapping, operation mapping into a TPM format in Integration Suite, and how do you actually test this? This is one of the cases I really look forward to actually show you and show that it is actually possible. It's not a lot of voodoo you need to do this, and it is fairly smooth, the process, all the way for this transition. Okay, so here I have my message mapping on my PI system. We can see it is using the TPM pool functionality, which is one that could cause a lot of problems when you want to migrate, because if you look into it, it is using some imported archives, and it is looking up data into the TPM agreements, and this is just going to fail, and therefore we want to make sure that it would actually work. Okay, so the idea is we want to take it and put it into agreement and a B2B scenario for it. So we already created one for this specific customer. You obviously need to ensure that you have all the correct identities, etc. set up before you get started on this. So the way we have seen is the easiest and the best way to monitor it is to use the agreement name on the migration. So we go here to the migration, select migrate on it. We select which package and we put in our name for it. It says this is not available. And we select B2B scenario. We press check, and now we can see what is actually being migrated. So it's already pre-selected the Amazon one. You can only migrate one mapping, and this is the operation mapping that we have here. And here we have the option here to use operation mapping, and what to use. We're saying we want to overwrite the shared mapping. This means Figaf will keep a version of this, and the same for the UDF. For some of the TPM node pool, you want to use the CPI function libraries, because they have the ability to have all values of a queue, which is obviously important in some cases. So you can mix and match it between the different ones, and you can even map functions individually. For now, we'll just use the override shared artifacts and ensure that we would continuously update this. Then we just select migrate, which will take the artifact, migrate it. So now we have created a new iFlow, and what we will see here, I need to make a small modification here. I need to add all values of a queue here before we start. And then we can see what has actually been processed. So here we can see the Groovy scripts that's been generated. We can see a lot of things has been uncommented, and we are just setting properties with these values to ensure we can see what has been triggered on these things and enable us to trace what's going on. So we say we don't really want to make changes here. We just saved it as a version with the new one and set deploy. Okay, so now this is deployed. The next thing we want to do is we want to set it into our TPM. So we copy the direct process directory path here, and we go in and say edit. Here we will then go in and select the custom mapping. So you can either select a custom mapping or a MAC. For now, we want to use the custom mapping here. And obviously you still would have the other artifact set up, whose sender edifact formats that is being used. So here we are setting up the mix for this, and the same on the outbound side. Here is also a mix for the order for it. Cool. After we make changes, we need to update it, and then the Figaf tool will be able to, when you deploy here, update. That's strange. I would have expected, normally it would give us a little more details of what is going on. Let's see if everything is correct, looks okay. Is that we can go back here to the Figaf tool, here we have added and improved functionality around TPM. So right now, if I press synchronize and I want to synchronize the TPM and partner directory, then we can link all of these objects together. And then if we look at here, so here we can search for all the agreements we have, different criteria, and this makes it really easy to find. So if we want to look at something with Mexico, we can see the one that we have here, and we should be able to see the main inflow. We can obviously link directly to this and see all the artifacts that is being linked. So the tool understands all of these capabilities together. I want to switch it into trace mode, just because. So next up is we want to create a test case. So now we have migrated and we want to check if it works. To create a test case, we go to our PI systems, and here we say record messages. We create a new B2B test suite, Amazon PI. So PI. And we fetch future messages, and then we can go in and say create test case here. And now we have a test case. Now we just need to wait or ask someone to send a message into this flow on this B2B scenario. And we have done that, so we can pull messages. This would enable us to fetch the data that exists in this. So we can see the details that we have fetched. We have fetched one EDI document here, EDIFACT document. No, not here. Here we can see the type, it's EDIFACT, so we can view it. We can see that it is EDIFACT for sure. Good. So now we can create a test case for it. And we selected we wanted 3 messages. We just need 1, so we delete the other ones. Okay, so now we have a test case. The next thing is we want to migrate these things. And to do that, we select our icon here. We select migrate test cases. We select which methods we want to migrate. We add it to a B2B scenario here. And here we need to search again for the same one. So AMX, and we can then see if it selects the right one. It does. One thing we are considering is on the agreements. So we wanted to select here. So I wanted to use the agreement as the test case title and see if that is the way to go with these scenario, because then all the things around touches, muchos, inbound sales order is going, in fact, is going to be added into one test suite. And now we can create the migration here. And now we can see if we can actually run this. And if we run it, what is going to happen? So now it will be triggered, and we can see the message has now been processed. If we look at the details, we have noted that at some point in time it doesn't always work, but then obviously we have the trace functionality. So what we would be able to see here is the different attribute that has been added. So we can see it adds all of the EDI elements from the TPM, and this makes it really easy if we want to replace some of the lookup functions with the local TPM, because we have all of the values in the header. So it's just header property, get receive ID, bam, and you're good. Good. So let's see, pull remote messages. So we got oh, it failed. Let's see what the errors are. So we can see that there is some elements here have been in and ignoring. You can go in and ignore elements if you think that they are no longer relevant. This is obviously important. And this is we're adding this triple add sign just so we can see that it is the user-defined function that has been called here. We could obviously, if we looked at the trace messages we had here, we would probably be able to see that sender ID is Amazon here. But a lot of times in the EDI header, all you need to do, or in the header formats, is you just go in here. Send a message, receiver here, just go in. So here we can see the functionality, and we can obviously just add a set header functionality that would work on these things, or we could go in and do something about the lookup for these identity. So we just say disable field, and the same for the receiver partner. Disable field, say OK, save as version, in 02, and deploy. And now we are just waiting for the iFlow to be deployed before we can run our test again. So let's just check. Deployment status. Now it is deployed. We can go back and we can then run our test case again. Let's see if it works better now. Give it a few minutes. All messages. And we can see it's now compared successfully. And if we look at the diffs, we can see that it did find this because that was already defined in the TPM agreement. And this makes it just a lot easier for you to manage such scenarios. This was all, an end-to-end scenario in 12 minutes, migration, testing, and adopting. Obviously, for real-life scenarios, there may be other changes that you need to do for those things to work successfully. But this really simplifies the process, making it a lot easier for you to perform such migrations. I hope you find this useful and you can see how this can speed up your migration process, giving you a better overview of all you have in your migration scenarios, making it easier to manage, because that means that when we're looking here in our test case, we can see the number of test cases we have for this scenario, and thereby we have an ability to run, search, filter based on these criteria and find and rerun messages. So it is much more than just migration. It is also about managing your TPM, and it is also about generally improving the migration process. Right now I showed it with just the migration process with using migration of the message mapping. You can also use this from if you are migrated using Max, they would create the same result. But I hope you liked it and want to try it out. Go to figaf.com and sign up for a free trial and get started. Thank you.